was. That's really kind. Thank you very much. Right, now, yes, this is what we're doing this evening. Let me remind myself what I'm supposed to be doing. We're stitching up Harper. And Harper, I'm sure you've seen many, many times on my socials. This is the iPad case, which has the puffy bottom, the puffy pocket here, and that's for a reason. And I meant to bring my plugs up, and of course I forgot. But it means you can put your plugs, your wires. I've got just my pen in here at the minute, just here. I've got my pen. I found a really good product actually. This is by the by. I'll try to remember what the name is, but it allows you, if you're into using your iPad, whatever it is, as a writing tablet, okay, because our Lily is now at sixth form, and she does all of her school notes, all her college notes I should say, big grown-up stuff, writing on her tablets, and she's got her pen and she's got her iPad Air. And I don't know if this is possible on all devices. I have no idea, but I'm just saying it for Lily's sake, really. And I saw a product advertised, and it's called something like, it's not Papermate, although it could be. I will find it and I'll put a link on my page actually, because it's very useful. And it's paper something, and you stick it like a film on your screen, and instead of writing with your pen on glass, it feels like you're writing on paper. And I've put it on mine because if Lily's got it, of course I've got to have it. So yes, and I've got that on my screen, and gosh, it makes a huge difference. So if that's something that you do and you don't like writing on the glass, then yeah, it's paper something. Could be Papermate. Isn't that a make of a pen? I think it might be, but it's paper something. I'm sure you could Google it somehow. But anyway, that was just by the by, and obviously because Lily's got it, because she writes all her notes on there. So I've got my pen in there, but it also means you can put your plugs in there, because you've got a bit of oof. You've got a bit of space in there, look. So even if I mean, I'm not going, I better not put my mouse in there. Gosh knows what would happen. But let's just say I'm going to put this in here. There's plenty of space. Oh, sorry. There's plenty of space to put my rotary cutter, should I wish to take that anywhere, which I doubt. Paper-like, is that what it is? Paper white. Oh, great. Thanks for that, guys. Because I have to say, it's jolly good. I mean, I do get sucked into these adverts, and I always think everything's going to be really good, and some of them are not, but that is particularly good. So anyway, with the puffy pocket, you can put your wires, your plug, so it doesn't damage your iPad, because if it doesn't stick out, it's going to stick in, isn't it? So you know, you've got to think about that. And obviously that pocket allows you to put your sweets in there as well. I think that would hold a few curly whirlies and some fruit pastels. I mean, I'm quite liking the thought. I'm not eating any, but I'm quite liking the thought of fruit pastels at the moment, and I reckon you could get a few tubes of them in there. And because I've suggested fat quarters, it means that you can have like mix and match fabric like this. We're doing a similar one tonight. Similar, not the same, but anyway, that is Harper. I have, yes, I do too, Jackie. I love a gadget. Paper white, oh, that's Kindle. I know. Twirl or twirl. Hi, Pat. Did you have a nice birthday yesterday? Was it yesterday? Did you have a nice birthday, Pat? Did you have tell us what you did? Anything exciting? Because you know we live on other people's memories. Anyway, so that's what we're making. I'll put a link on, you know, I've pinned a link if you want to go and get it from the web shop, but that's what we're making. Now, I have a sort of an apology to make, because I've kind of part done it, and there's a reason why I've part done it, because when I put the pattern together, and I was I put it together, and then I shoot it off to Kath, who then puts everything right, and I missed out one step. And so I had to remake the front, and I'll talk you through it. It's very easy, nothing difficult at all, so you mustn't worry. And I'm just thinking I might do a little sample of something about the front. So I kind of did that bit, and I thought I'm not wasting it because the fabric is too gorgeous for that. Right, don't forget a twirl. Yes, I reckon I could get a couple of twirls. But what about if the iPad was hot? Is there room for an ice pack? Yes, maybe. I'm not sure that would do it. Do the iPad any good either. Pat says, lovely birthday, many visitors, lovely dinner. Thank you, everyone. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Nice when people call round. Did you get flowers? I always get flowers. Get loads, yeah. It's lovely. It's lovely. Brightens up my day. So anyway, there's the pattern. There's 12 pages. So for goodness sake, just print the template because it has got a template. I'll just show you roughly. 'Cause obviously, you know, it's one that I've drawn myself. So it's sort of, there it is. Look, can you see? There's a template. So I would only print the template, and if you can, read the pattern off of your whatever device you use, whether it's PC, Apple Mac, iPad, Kindle, I don't know what else you would look on, phone even. You can all zoom in, can't you? So, yeah, 12 pages, so don't print it. Unless you could do double-sided, couldn't you? And that would be only 6 pages. But you do need the template, so you need to print that out. Right, so let's crack on, and I'll put it on the overhead so you can see what I've done so far. I think that would be the best course of action. Right, so I've got all my bits. This is my lining. These are my straps. So my straps are the same as the original one, so they're ready to stitch. Then I've got my little flap over, so that's ready to go. And I'll talk about each step as I do it. I'm not just going to show it and stitch it, and that's it. Oh, you just not from hubby. Pat. Oh, serious bother. Oh, I've gone very small in the corner. I'll just extend myself. Just one moment. There we are. Actually, I'm not even in the middle, am I? Anyway, enough of that. Enough about me. Didn't get you any flowers. Mind you, John's a bit like that. Anyway, so that's the flap over. Then we've got the back. Now, this fabric... See, now, some of you might think, oh, she's got it upside down. She's got it upside down. Somebody tell her, quick, she's got it upside down, right? Because it definitely is. But if I do it that way, then I've got other things that are upside down. So it's non-directional, but you need to look at it because some of these, if I do it that way, some of these really stand out, don't they? As being, anyway, it doesn't matter, you're not using this fabric, but it's just something to be aware of, that if you have got a direction, you know, please remember which way that should go. Now, everything is already pre-stabilised, so I'm using H640 for the back and front, nothing for the lining. For the flap over, we've got G700, which is a really soft woven iron-on interfacing. It's really nice. There are others you can use if you want to, but it's nice and soft. And we've got H640 on the other half, okay? And with the straps, they've got G700 on as well. They need, I sometimes feel straps need a little bit of oomph about them rather than being just the fabric. So sometimes that can be a bit flimsy. So we've got the back. Now this is my front. So this is this is the front I made. For photography, basically. I wasn't going to use it for anything else, and I thought, what a shame that we wouldn't use it. So I need to have a little sip of my Pepsi. Hold on. Thank you. But when we get to this stage, I will talk you through absolutely everything. Okay, so there's no worries. When it comes to the gathering, I'll talk to you why I've only got one layer. I could do the little clip there. Let me get a little clip. I've only got I've got two rows of stitching, and I've got I'll talk to you about the pocket when I come to it, I think, rather than try to say it now and then we all forget. So this is the front already done, and I've got the lining of the pocket. So on the pattern, let me just explain. I won't give you the measurements, but the to prepare the project, it says to cut one outer back, which is this one, 2 lining pieces, which is the green, and then 1 pocket lining, okay, which is this. Now, I'll talk to you in detail more when I get to it as to why we've only got the back lining of the pocket, okay? There is a reason for that. Anyway, No, we don't give sizes out when it's a pattern that you have to buy, I'm afraid. Otherwise I'd be out of business in 5 minutes. Right, so we can start putting this together. So I'm going to follow the pattern. Let's hope I stick to it. It's not likely, but you never know. So the first thing we're going to do is the straps. We're nice and easy. We're folding them, well, 3 times I suppose, to make a nice sturdy strap with that stabiliser. And although you've got a folded edge here, along here, we're still going to stitch both sides because that makes it really neat. And with a stabiliser as well, it gives it a nice feel. So we're going to get that done and get going so we can hopefully finish it in the hour. That would be nice. Sometimes I feel unlikely because I talk too much and I probably show far too much. Right, so we're just going to stitch that. Now if you want me to zoom in a bit more, I can, obviously. When you're stitching through multiple layers, you really want to increase your stitch size to 3, because then the needle will easily go through the fabric without any bother. Okay, so it's a good thing to increase your stitch length on multiple layers. So I put it on 3. Now of course what you'll find when you do multiple layers, sorry, a long stitch, is that you will whiz. Your machine all of a sudden goes faster because it's a longer stitch. So if that worries you, then take your stitch length down, or we know when you've got the rabbit and the hare on your machine, I'm sure all of you have, then just turn that down so you go slower, okay? So you don't need to go super speedy, but it will go faster on a longer stitch. It's just the nature of it. So let's just trim that, and then we're just going to put the next one. Oh, hello Abby, have you done your Patchtastic? Abigail's doing really well. I think she's on day 8 of Patchtastic. If you're part of that group, you know what I'm talking about. She's issuing a pattern every day for 10 days. Not too late to join, you can still sign up. She's also doing the deal wheel on her proper page, her Get Sewing with Abigail page, and she's been having some really good deals. So if you're in the market for fabric or notions, then go and have a look at Abigail's page. She's got some purple batiks on there today. I am resisting because I've got to clear some of my stash. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I have, really have. I think we could all do with that, couldn't we? But I've got a great scrap busting project coming up that I can do that with you all. Yes, she is fantastic, Pat, she is. And she's got so many irons in the fire, as it were, at the moment. Those of you that are in her secret groups know what she's up to. But it's a very exciting time for Abigail, that's for sure. Right, so there we are. So that's the 2 straps made. Now if I look at a pattern, I'm trying to keep up, make sure I get this right. We're going to put these on the first set. We're going to put on the back panel, okay, just so we get to line the first lot up. But we're not going to stitch anything, and there's a reason for that. So we're going to find the middle. So we can fold this in half. There is a measurement in the pattern, but I'm just going to fold it in half and give it a little snip. Okay, and then I'm going to place them for the time being. Now when I place my straps, I tend to have the folded edges. So this is 1 fold, this is 2 folds, so that hopefully you can see that. And I put those to the middle rather than the outside edge. Now for the moment there is a measurement in the pattern. I'm just placing these, okay, and I shall probably end up moving them in a minute. But I want to make sure that the strap is in position, and then I'm going to use the flap over to actually get the accuracy, okay? But in the pattern there are measurements of how much you measure in, where you should put your marks to put your straps on, your handles, but for the time being, because I don't want to give out measurements or measure on screen, I'm just going to position these where I think they should go, okay? So don't forget your double edge fold goes into the centre, and it's just a neater way of doing things. So the next thing we're going to do is the little flap over. So I'm not doing the front yet, okay? This is our kind of benchmark, if you like. So then we're going to get our flap over, and one side is longer than the other, and on that long side I'm going to draw some curves. Now you can use whatever you like. You might have something in your cupboard, you know, the inside of a sellotape roll or something like that, which is just right. There's not an exact science to this. It says on here that it's a 1.5 inch radius corner. So, you know, if you've got something that measures that, fine. If you've got something that measures smaller or even larger, that's fine as well. So all we're going to do is measure it, and then I'm going to just pop a couple of pins in just to hold all that in place. Oh, make sure it's right sides together. Lizzy, concentrate. And then we're just going to stitch around. Now, even though we've drawn that, you can cut it now if you want. Even though we've drawn it, the seam line is actually away from it. So you're going to come down here as you normally would, blah 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 blah, and then you're going to just, it's kind of like your edge of the edge of the seam, if you like. As I say, you can cut it away if you want to, if that makes more sense to you. And I'll just leave it there because I'm going to trim it anyway. So, all right. So, and I'm going to stitch right up here. So I'm going to stitch from there all the way around to there, and I've got my pinking shears ready. And in the pattern, I deliberately didn't use pinking shears just in case you don't have any, and you think. But I snipped into it with little V's. I could show you. How I did that. Anyway, let's stitch this. So I'm going to put it on a 1/4 seam allowance and just up my stitch length. My machine defaults to 2, which is a little small for just regular stitching. So back stitch always to hold, and then just follow round, pivot and turn all the way around. I'd always do this nice and carefully. In fact, if you do a smaller stitch, you'll get a better curve, and if you don't go at it gung-ho, you won't have, you'll still have a nice curve. So even if it's 1 or 2 stitches and then turn, it's perfect, because you'll get a smoother curve. So it's always best to take your time. Take your pins out, and then we can travel up the other side. We'll do a nice little back stitch. There we go. Ardingly, is it Ardingly? The show that's near Gatwick somewhere, isn't it? I heard Andy and Joe were going. There we go. So I've stitched all the way around. So I'm just going to use my pinking shears to help get a nice curve. Now, if you haven't got pinking shears, all I did was I'm going to just do it here so it doesn't matter. Excuse me. All I did was cut little V's in, and it's quite obvious in the pattern that that's what I did. And so that's another way, but you would do that all the way around. So it's a little slow, but it's another way of putting the V's in. And V's are always helpful for curves particularly. So just go all the way around. Now the side with the H640 is the top, and the side obviously with the G700 is the flap underneath. So we just have to be mindful of how we place this down on our bag when we've done it. Okay, so that's it stitch. So all we're going to do now is turn through. So let's do that, and I'm going to pop my iron on. Here we go, not too hot, and just turn it through. Now at the moment we've done nothing with this top edge. There is a little tip I'll give you, and you can please yourself whether you do this or not. Before you stitch all the way around here, you could turn these edges under by, you know, a nice generous 1/4 inch, and so because you've got the H640 there, you could snip some of that away, and you could actually stitch your seam with those pieces folded over. Okay, it might be easier for you. Just sort of saying that. So then what you want to do is turn it through and just push through. You'd probably be fine with your fingers just to get that curve beautiful. And then we're going to give it a nice little press. Get my little mat. Abigail was selling some of her ironing mats this week as well. I don't think she had many, but yeah, I haven't seen those for a long time. So and that was lovely because you know, a lot of people don't have them, and they are. Oh, this one, you know, this is my 8x8, and it's really handy to have on my desk. Okay, so there's our lovely flap over done there. Now this is where if you did it the other way, like I said, it might be easier for you at this stage, okay? But if let me just trim that down just a wee bit. But if you got to where I am, where you've got that raw edge at the top, this is the bit where you need to get it fairly neat and tidy. I mean, it's not, you know, if this is for yourself, then I shouldn't worry too much, okay? But what you need to do is, I always tend to fold mine over on the seams first and bring them round, bring the seams sort of round so they're folded over. It takes a little bit of fiddle, especially as I'm doing this in mid-air. And then before I get too far, I don't know if you can see in there, there's a kind of little foldy bit in there where the seams are not lying flat. I just get in there with my stiletto and flatten it, and before I do anything else I'll put a pin in there so it stays, because obviously I don't want to get my iron in there yet because I haven't got this bit folded in. But I'm going to ignore that bit. I'm going to go straight up the other end, and I'm just going to fold that over. It's about a 1/4 inch. I really wouldn't bother measuring. I would just go with the flow, and it's not going to make a huge difference to the flap over. It really won't. So just fold that in, as I say, roughly a 1/4 inch. I know it's a bit fiddly, and for those of you that may struggle with the old dexterity, and I do understand, then maybe you want to do it the other way, where you fold the edges and then stitch your seams around. So I'm going to put a pin in there as well now. And then you'll find that centre section just does its thing. It will just go in beautifully, and you don't need to worry too much. In fact, I'm going to bring my iron in, and I'm going to tell it who's boss by giving it an iron. Now, do you see all this H640? This all fluffy stuff. You could snip some of that away, because it just can be a hindrance, especially on a small seam like this, to actually get a really neat result because of the fibre, I suppose. So I'm just going to give that a press. And if your iron's really hot, which mine wasn't even switched on, that will really help hold that together, okay? And then we can work on this half like that and give that a press, okay? And because this is going to be the wrong side, this is the underside, I strongly suggest you look at the right side. Let's just pop a pin in there again, because this is the bit that you're going to stitch and this is the bit you're going to see. So you want it to be as neat as you can be, okay, as neat as you can be. There's no award I'm just going to get that. And if you've got a stiletto, this is where they really come into their own because you can use that as your kind of third hand. There we go, that's lovely. Super job. So the first way is probably easier. This way it can be fiddly, but it's good to see both. I need another nice strong pin. Right, I think that will do for the moment. That's a bit of a wonky angle, but I'm okay with that. Okay, so that's our little flap over made. Let's just straighten that up, it looks daft. So now we want to bring back, I'm just going to make sure I'm following the pattern. You want to bring back your back panel. So this is your back panel. So we're going to put the pocket, the flap over on the back panel first, okay? Now this has to fit between these handles. Now I know where my centre is, I've got that marked, so I can eyeball, I can't cut into this, or I suppose I could mark it. The danger of marking it is that the line, if I've drawn, won't come out, so I'm really, I would be very anxious about not marking it. But what we can do is mark down where we put this placement. Now I'll get a ruler and I shall mark that so I can see what I'm doing. So I want to get it around about there. So the pattern, in the pattern it tells you what that measurement is, okay? Right, so don't forget we need the fluffy side up and the G700 down. That's our wrong side. So now we've got to just figure out which is which. Let me just have a peek in there. So that's the top. So if we were to place it on there, we want the top side up because that's the bit that's going to go over the front of the bag, okay? And we need to place the edge of our flap over on the line that we just drew. So find the instructions, measure it down and just place the edge of that on that line and just make sure that you've got that lined up with the middle. I think we're pretty much there, and you can see I guesstimated my handles and they need to come over. They need to come over. If I can get my clip in there. So really what you want to do is you want that central position, so your flap is going to be right in the centre of your bag, and then you can make sure your flap over sits exactly in the centre, okay? And if you wanted to, and I think I say now in the pattern, you can base those down. If you're confident that that flap is going to sit right in the centre without any obstruction, oh thank you Christine, then I would base those straps down, okay? And that's what I will do. So while that's sitting there, I'm going to pin it in place. Okay, I can get that in. I'll pin the others in a minute, but I'm just going to take it to the machine. All I'm going to do is move my flap out of the way and just stitch those down just to base them, and then I can get rid of the clips, because clips and your machine aren't always best friends. They think they might be, but they're not. So I'm just going to lift it up, get it out of the way, just going to move that flap back, look. And you see, and I'm just going to baste across that strap there. And I do actually recommend you do 2 lines of basting, but I'm not going to do that tonight. Let's go back a bit. Because if you do 2 lines, your handles will sit straight. 1 line will still possibly make them a bit wonky. So let's just go across to the other side. I'm just going to lift this other side out of the way. And you can start a ½ inch before your strap. And I'm just going to do a back stitch so it's strong there. Right across. Obviously you want to do this within your seam allowance of 1/4 inch. They are lovely, Diana, aren't they? I'm practically run out now, which I'm heartbroken about. Heartbroken. I won't get any more because otherwise it becomes a bit boring. Right, so you can see my straps, my handles are lovely and positioned now, and I can ignore them. To be honest, if you wanted to sew this on and then put your straps on, it's when I make the pattern up, I make it as I go, and I do it as I see fit, and then I think, oh, I could have done it this way, I could have done it that way, and I'm sure a lot of you will come up with different ways of doing things. So in hindsight, maybe put your flap on first and then put your straps on, but I'm following the pattern. Yeah. Right, so the next thing is to actually stitch this on. Now I've got a nice little thing to show you here. I'm going to just get those out of the way. What we need to do is stitch as close as we can to the edge and catching all the layers, because don't forget you've got 2 layers of that flap there. Come back, let's go along, go up a little bit and come back. And you want 2 rows of stitching. Where's my original one? You want 2 rows of stitching which are fairly close. I would say that's about 1/8 of an inch. You don't want great big bits of stitching there. You don't want it to be ugly. So 2 very nice neat rows of stitching is what you need. Okay, so I'm going to pop that under the machine, but I've got a little gadget to show you. Oh, is Joe still on holiday? Oh, she's moved hotels. She's now staying at Lakeside on Hayling Island. Do you know, those 2 are always gadding about. There's a few like them, I tell you. Not that I'm at all jealous. Oh dear. Right. When you're stitching something like this, you might find, hopefully you can see okay, I think you can. You might find that your machine doesn't like that first bit because it's a lot thicker than your bag is. So your foot is going to be partly, can you see that it's tilted up at an angle? You can see that, can't you? So when my machine and my needle and everything meets that fabric, it's not going to be very happy. Now the one way of getting round that is to use a seam jumper. Okay, if you've ever seen one of these and you think, what on earth, this is a really good time to put it into use. And all you need to do is pop it under your machine. I want you to watch what happens. Put it under your machine. Do you see it's lifted my foot up? Now there's 2 thicknesses to it. This one at the back is thick. This one at the front is just thick. So you can choose which one is suitable for you. You can, if you want, take the whole thing over your project, but really all we want to do is level off our foot. And can you see how that's done? And hopefully that will make your stitching initially easier. Okay, the one thing you really must watch is to make sure that your needle is between the gaps. Do you see the gap? So you want to make sure your needle is sitting, even though we're not really anywhere near the needle, you want it, the needle to be sitting in the middle of the channel, you know, so you don't catch it. I'm going to take my pin out because you know I don't do pins. I'm just going to move my machine along. I'm going to sit that over the top. I think this would probably benefit from the thicker one, to be honest. Look at that. That's even better, isn't it? Anyway, we'll give it a go. I'd forgotten about this lower presser foot. That's a good idea. I'd forgotten about this the other when I went to do this the other day, and I'm going to use that thin one now because I didn't put my presser foot down. And of course that presser foot keeps that seam jumper in place. Oh, what's she saying? We started on Friday at Sinai? Warner Leisure. We are at Lakeside Warners until Wednesday, when we move to Ardingly, when we have some work. Yes, good. Well, that's right. So you'll find by using the seam jumper, it allows your machine to work much more smoother, and it doesn't catch, and so you end up with lots of little stitches. It's a really good tool to use, and it's not difficult. You've seen how I use it. Now when you come to the other end, if you want to, has it gone? If you want to, you could rest that there and help your foot at the other end as well. So we'll see how we get on. I might and I might not. When I turn it around, I definitely will. Now I'm going right up to the edge. I'm going to do a little back stitch just to make that absolutely secure. I'm going to turn 3 stitches, but they were quite small. As I say, the seam jumper is really the way to go. Let's put that on there. There we go. Yeah, so that will really help. Your stitches will be even and it'll be just much easier for you. Okay, that's what it's all about, surely. Let's make it easy for ourselves. So don't be frightened about using that. So I'm just coming to the end. I just want to go right up to the edge. I'm going to do a little back stitch just to give it some strength. And I'm going to come down to where I started. I'm going to turn and then just do a couple of stitches. See, now that's going on the spot, which is what it would have done if you were stitching. So look, so there's our seam done, and that looks not too bad. Not too bad. Ah, get one, Pat. If you're sewing denim jeans and stuff like that and you're going over seams, you'd be amazed how simple it is to use and to go hop over seams. So there's the back of our bag done. So let's go on the overhead again. So there's the back of our bag done. We can ignore it now because all the hard work's been done. We've finished it apart from when we stitched the bag together. So the next bit is the front. And let me just check my pattern just to make sure I'm not telling you untruths. Oh yeah, our front. So this is the bit that I did ready for photography, so you have to forgive me for this. But it's super duper easy. This pocket does not have a lining, okay? It has a back lining, but it doesn't have a pocket lining. It was just cutting down on the fabrics really when it came to the gathering, because because this makes a particular shape. I can't spread it out because I don't have long threads anymore, but it makes quite a wide shape. It sort of comes out another sort of perhaps 4 inches each side, which you need to gather in. And if I'd put a lining on this pocket, let me show you, you would have more fabric gathered in here, and I didn't think that was necessary. This is just the inside of the pocket. You're not going to see it, but we are going to put a back on it, because when you look, if I show you the original, which is somewhere here, when you open this up, you want to have a back, but can you see that's still the H640 there? But you could, yes, a hump jumper or humper jumpers, yeah. Yeah, hump jumper or seam jump. I can't remember the make. I can't remember the make off the top of my head. Yes, so when you do the zip, you're literally just putting the zip in to those 2 pieces of fabric. And in the pattern, I mean, this is no secret, I can show you this. In the pattern, it's quite clear that you're putting the top one on, and make your zip longer, and that way the slider keeps out of the way. And then that's how it looks before you stitch it. And then all you're going to do is so you can see the funny shape of it, and then you're just going to put the bottom half on. So it's really easy, okay, because there's no lining. The other thing you can do is you could fold this fabric over and press it and then just top stitch it on, rather than doing the normal process of right sides together with the zip and stitch, then flip over and top stitch. In some respects it would be easier just to, I wonder if I've got a zip handy. Here we go, I've got a bit of zippage over here. Sometimes it's easier, I don't want to use my lining particularly. Sometimes it's easier, and actually I saw this morning, was it this morning? It might have been yesterday. Yeah, I think it was yesterday on Sewing Street, and it was Jenny Jackson, and I thought, yes, that's what I do. That's what I do. Not all the time, just certain things. So you're going to fold your fabric over, because we're not lining this. It's not crucial about how we apply the zip. Does that make sense? So what you can do is that you can just fold your seam allowance over, place it on here, use some double-sided tape, you know, quilter's tape, and then just literally top stitch it, and that's secure as it ever needs to be. Okay, so that's actually a really nice way of putting in a zip. Incredibly easy. I mean, you could, if you're worried about those zip teeth, you can move your fabric further away so you're not anxious about it, but use quilter's tape to hold that down, and then you can just literally, you're top stitching it. So it's a very, very easy, uncomplicated way. So that's all you're doing with this. You're literally doing exactly that, and then you're just I did it the conventional way, and then I top stitch. Now with the gathering at the bottom, obviously you want to make it the same size as all your other pieces, so you want to pull your gathers in to that exact size as best you can. And so you're going to pull 2 threads. Now, some people say you should pull the top, some people say you should pull the bottom. I say whatever you like, because it's only a short area. If you pull the bottom threads, let me think. If you pull the top threads, sometimes that's easier than the bottom, but to be perfectly honest, it's only a short little piece, so just, I say, well done, whichever way you've done it. You can pleat it if you want to, you don't have to have gathers. And always do 2 rows. Now, I did see somebody on YouTube the other day, and she said there's no need to do 2 rows. No, there absolutely is a very good reason why, and yes, you should always do 2 rows. You can either go from there to there and have 2 long threads either side and gather them either side, but because this is only a little short piece, it's only this long, then I just go along there, pivot and come back, but I don't stitch across my stitches. I keep it's like a train track. Always a train track. You don't ever cross them over, otherwise you'd never be able to pull those gathers in. And the reason why we do 2 rows is because your gathers will be so much neater. I'm serious, so much neater. It kind of gives you a double gather than a single, and so please do 2 rows, there and back, or there and there. Okay, so that's the sermon over. So I've done my front, so that's what you want to achieve. It's all in the pattern, it's dead easy. But what we need to do now is to attach our back, and the back is going on the back like that. It's not going right sides together, it's literally going to be attached on 3 sides. You could stitch along there if you want to, and then you're just bringing, because this is curved for a reason, obviously, so you're just bringing that curve in, and just make sure you go up to that corner of your back piece. It would be easy to put an extra curve in there, but you want it to be a rectangle, not an oval. So just clip it down, do one in the middle, give yourself a little bit of a leeway with your gathers. You cut your threads, otherwise they're all over the place, but you don't have to gather it too much. You can kind of gather it as you go, to be honest. Yeah, it's fine to do that. Like I say, just make sure you go right into the corner. As I say, it would be really easy to curve that round, and then pull that curve in on the side there, get those seams lined up, put as many clips, pins or what have you in as you need. Okay. Excuse me. Right, that'll do, go overboard. So I'm going to attach those together, so we're just working with one piece. So I was tempted to do that earlier, but I thought no, we'll do it. So right, so I'm just going to stitch these together and try and keep within your seam allowance. Let's see what we've got stitch lengthwise. I'll take it up to 2.6. Make sure your zip slider's out of the way. Let's try and get those so they're actually on top of each other. I did put a few little stitches at the end of my zip just to hold those ends together. And just make sure you go right down to the corner and just get those gathers in the right place. You don't want the gathers going right up to the you don't want the gather going right into the corner. Okay, so now we're just going to stitch along the bottom. Don't forget to keep your stitching within the seam allowance. So what you're doing really is you're generating a pocket, so everything stays put in your bag when you put your pen in, your plugs, your wires. It's like a little kangaroo pocket, keeping everything cosy. Okay. So right up to the top, across the zip. I might as well go across that top seam as well while I'm here. It's not necessary, but you could. Good, so that's that done. Okay, so let's have a look at the pattern and see what we do next. I think it's pretty obvious. So let's have a look at putting our next handle on. So check my pattern just to make sure, blah blah blah, yes. Now what I do suggest you do is always take the back one as your guide, okay? You don't want to have them so they're higgledy-piggledy, okay? Okay, I'm thinking that's not straight, but I think it is. I think it's just the fabric. So don't forget your double seam, your double fold is going into the middle, and I'm just going to line those up and clip them down, and then we're going to baste those in place. You want to take your time on all of these steps to make sure that you're happy with the result, and then we'll just pop them under the machine and just baste them down. And to be honest, you just go straight across the bag. You don't have to stop. So we can go all the way along. Okay. Oh, well done, Ali. Ali says she's trying to hold off making anything new because of unfinished projects. I think a lot of people are doing that at the moment, Ali. I don't think it's... I think it's probably that sort of a New Year thing, isn't it? That you want to clear up everything. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the... let's have a look at a pattern here. Sorry for licking my fingers. There we go. Right. So now what we can do is actually make the bag up. So we're right sides together. You can ignore the flap and all that sort of thing, and we're just going to stitch the three sides. So the two obviously short sides we're going to stitch, and the bottom edge. With the lining we're going to do the same again, but we're leaving a turning gap in the bottom. So just right sides together. Now probably easier if you do it on this side, maybe, because you can see better. On this side you've got the fluffy bit, so that's up to you. But we're going down here and along on our outer, and on our lining it's right sides together. We're going to go along three sides, but we're going to leave a turning gap in that bottom seam, or you can leave it in the side seam if you want to. Yeah, me too, Ali, me too. The 12 Days of Christmas is hanging up behind me. I actually bought some backing fabric which is not suitable. My own fault, my own fault. In fact, I'm going to do that fluffy side up because my feed dogs catch H640 like nobody's business. Right, now stick to your seam allowances. Don't be tempted to go bigger here because you've got to get your iPad in there. So just stick to what you know, what's recommended, the 1/4 inch. And if you wanted to, you could cut a 1/2 inch off the, well, not a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch off the lining, and Make your lining slightly shorter. Now if when we turn this through you can see the gathering stitches, then you can just unpick those. Gathering stitches should be done at your longest stitch, 5, the minimum being 5, okay? Perhaps no longer than 5. I'll check this when I'm finished. I'm not sure if I caught all the fabric there. Yeah, so your gathering stitches should be 5. I think I've put that in the pattern, so yeah. Okay, do a nice back stitch just to secure. So that's our bag done. So if we turn it through, you can snip the corners if you want to. I want to make sure I've caught all the fabric. I'm pretty sure I have. Sometimes you doubt yourself, don't you? But that's turned through. Hold on, I'll show you. So that's what it looks like on the front. That's what it looks like on the back. Okay, so now we're going to do the lining. And little back stitch again. We'll put the turning gap in the bottom. So all the way around. So it's a nice easy project. There's just 1 or 2 little techniques that you might want to try. Like you could use the seam jumper. You're going to be doing gathering, which you may not have done before. You're doing a different sort of pocket. It's not very badly cut. Who ever cut this? Needs sacking. That's probably 1/8 of an inch out. I obviously wasn't looking at my ruler right at all. Okay, so that's our lining done. So now what we can do, let me just put you on the overhead again. Okay, so now what we want to do is to put our bag into our lining, or the other way around, whichever you're comfortable with, and then just stitch along the top, and that's obviously then secures all our layers. We've got a lovely big turning gap in the bottom. You need a good turning gap because you've got a lot of fabric, haven't you? You've got the stiffness of the handles, you've got the flap to go through as well, so lots of layers, so you do need a nice good big turning gap. So match up your side seams first, nest the seams, that always helps. Put a clip in there, then all the rest should fit in beautifully. So tuck your handles in, just give it a little tug like that, find the centre and pop a clip in, find the centre again, pop a clip in, oops, that's it. And then we're just going to stitch all the way around, and the actual bag is done. We'll stitch the turning gap and we'll put a popper in, because you may not have seen oops, hold on, let's get you on the side camera. You may not have seen a popper being put in before, a snap for anybody that's in the States. So because I can take the arm off my machine, it means I can put my bag on the free arm, or through the free arm. So 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Just mind your handles, mind your flap. Just don't catch your flap. That's the only thing that's sort of floating around in there, is the flap. The handles you've already basted, so they should be fine. Okay. And also when you come to the straps, make sure they're sitting straight, because they may twist. If you do a double seam like I suggest, they won't have done, you'll be fine. A double seam keeps the handles straight, 90-degree angle if you like. So coming round to the start, and just go over a few more stitches. Oh, Helena's going to go and feed the grandchildren. Helena is in Canada. So obviously you can snip your corners if you wanted to. Let's turn it through. And you really want to give these things a good press. I can't stress that enough. The times I see beautiful things and they haven't seen the light of day of an iron. So keep it like that for the moment. Okay, so you've got the lining sticking out, and just find your bottom seam. Don't be shocked, I'm going to stitch it, and just sort of open it and tug it, and that should give you a fairly decent fold to stitch your turning at. So let's quickly do that. I'll put my gubbins box back on, as John Scott would say. Hold on, I've got a lot of stuff going on there. Okay, so get it under the machine. You can poke all these corners out and in and whatever you like later. Let's get that seam beautiful. You might want to do a back stitch. To be perfectly honest, a turning gap with no back stitch won't come undone. I can't think of any situation where that would come undone. Obviously just trim your threads. Okay. And let's give it a little press so it looks half decent for you. I'll put my iron on full and get my big pressing mat up if I can find it. Here we go. And you just want to, so if there's any threads, let's get rid of them. Just what you want to do is to look at the bottom here, and if you see, I mean I can't see any, but if you see any gathering stitches along here, then just pull those out, snip them and just pull them out, they'll be fine. Okay, so let's just give this a little press, get rid of all that stuff. So just to make that top edge really crispy and neat, I just pull that seam apart, put the iron on it, and that will help to get a nice crispy top edge. And then we can fold that all in. There we go. Get your hands in there and push it in. Now if you've made your lining about 1/4 inch smaller, that lining will go much easier. It will go right to the bottom. When it's exactly the same size, it doesn't always want to do that. All of this needs a steam, so please get your steam iron out and give it a really good press. We're just I'm just kissing this, if you like, just to speed things up a bit, but it needs steam. When it comes to the sides, just flatten those out as best you can. Sorry for me licking my fingers, but you know, I think that's what we all do. All I'm doing inside is flattening those seams out and giving them a press, but really they need steam. So let's just do the same the other side. And I always work from the lining, so I've got the lining, so I can see the lining here, because what it means is if I can see the bag on this edge, it means I'm not going to see the lining on the front. Yeah, if I did it the other way round, you'd probably see the lining, which we don't really want to do. So my corners need poking out a bit, but I'm ignoring that for the moment. It's lack of time. Just give that a nice press. A couple of little threads I can see, but you know, let's ignore it. And then what we're going to do is bring our flap over. And now then, this is where we need to put our iPad in the case, okay? Because if you don't, your flap over might not be long enough. Because the iPad is, well, what, good 1/4, and I've got a cover on mine, so 3/8 of an inch, okay, and that matters with this flap over. So get your flap, bring it over, make sure it's nice and comfortable, yeah, and then we can mark it. So if I can find my pen, obviously I've got a blue pen. Just make sure that that lining is sitting correctly. I'm happy with that. And then you want to find the middle, so I'm just going to guesstimate it. So my middle, I think, is there, yeah, and then I just lift that back and I'll put the popper here. Now what you're going to do, you're going to measure that and you're going to make sure that's in the middle, but as I can eyeball it, I think I'm okay with that. So just don't forget to put your device in there before you before you're even tempted to do the flap, because what you might do is pull that right over, and that will definitely not work. It needs to be up a bit, and you can only do that with the device in. So let's quickly put a stud in. See if I can, what colour? Green, maybe? Let's get a few here. Hopefully I've got enough ingredients. Okay. Let's get my tools of torture. Oh, that's a funny one. Blue. I've got my green machine. If anybody doesn't have a green machine, you want one. You really need one. Let's put you on the side camera. They make such a terrific job. Oh, that's better. Okay, so I've already got my bottom dye in, yeah, and I've already got a top one in because I was making Franny's earlier, and the top one is the one I'm going to use for my flap. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is put a hole in. Now you do get a dye that makes the hole, but I find that too much of a faff. So the first thing we're going to do is pop our button on the sorry, you can't see. So I pop my button through that hole there, yeah. So the little sticky out bit is through the hole, and that's going to go on the green machine. Okay, it'll move, so I'll probably settle it a bit more in a minute. And then I want the outie piece. Hold on, pick it up again. The outie piece to go in this dye here. So I'm going to move this out of the way. So that goes it goes opposite to what you think. It actually goes this bit. The outie bit goes in up here. Okay, there. So that's kind of stays there. I also think it's a bit loose, but actually it's fine. And then you just pop your pin through the hole again, just like we did, and you just bring this down. I do have to give it a bit of an oof, but that gives you the most perfect. Can you see? Perfect centre. It really can't get better than that. Now with the one in the middle of the on the bag front, just protect your bag, and we're going to go through all of the layers with my tool. And do protect, because you'll end up putting a hole through all of your layers if you're not careful. So there's my hole there. I think I've got it all the way through. And this time we need the button on the back. Okay, I'll put that there for the moment. I've just put that there for the moment. Now I need to change the dye over. Okay, and I keep mine in little boxes, and I use the Sharpie pen to write on them what they are, what they're for, and then I don't get confuddled, because each thing that you get with the green machine, their dyes are different. So oh dear, typical, isn't it? Right, so I've got my button on. Sorry. Yeah, I've got my button on there, and what we need now is an innie, so one that goes in, and again that goes that way. See if I can see. There we are, it's popped in there, you can just see it. It's a nice colour to see, isn't it? And then all I'm going to do, get all my bag out of the way, I'm going to put that button in that silver dish, and then just press down. Yeah, well, you have to give it a little bit of a welly. If you like the fella that demonstrates, I mean, he's a bloke, isn't he? So he's got more strength than the rest of us. And as a girl, I need to give it a little bit more oomph. But can you see? It gives the most perfect centre, which means that when you pop these together, they really do pop well. Yeah, and that's that done. And it needs, as I say, it needs a good press. But other than that, there we are, we've made Harper. So well done for sticking with it. We're only 10 minutes over, that's okay. Let's just get you to the front. So there we are, so we've made another one. I should give that a really good press. Looks very similar to the first one. Hold on, where's the first one? Here's the first one, let me do the popper. That's got a nice purple popper. There we are. So, very similar, but different. Nice using all different fabrics, isn't it? And actually, that could really be a great scrap buster. So that's great, just needs a press and we're done. So if you like the look of Harper, the link is on the actual Facebook Live here. You can pop along to the website and get her. And enjoy making her. She's not complicated. The only thing I didn't show you was actually putting the zip in, which I've explained to you how easy that is, or how easy it could be. I hope you enjoyed that. I shall be with you again early part of February. I've got my workshop starting this Friday the 31st is day one of my Xavier workshop. We're doing it over 3 Fridays, so I shall see those lovely people in that private group on Friday, so please join me there if you've bought the workshop. Don't forget, otherwise we'll be picking up stragglers. Right, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the stars as well. That's really lovely. I really appreciate it. And please stay safe. I know the weather is absolutely diabolic at the moment, so please stay safe. Do the best you can. Order in. That's the idea. Get somebody to bring it to you. Food, sustenance. Yeah, let them others do it. Right, yes, so I'm going to leave you to it. Thank you ever so much for watching. It's been an absolute treat as usual, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.